Friends, there is something about people chanting your name. When was the last time that someone was, or a group of persons were over there on the side and they were chanting your name? You know that it's often in order to get you to do something. Your name is being called out over and over again, kind of in the style of, you see it in sports where it's like, yes, Ellen, 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 Jeannie, Jeannie, Jeannie. In this case, as this was happening 2 days ago, I tell you, friends, as my name was being called, I was safely just putting my toes in the Atlantic Ocean. And I just had them there on the edge as the water was lapping up and down the beach, and I was looking out and seeing all of the people and taking in the sun and feeling all of that energy and feeling quite nicely with my shades and my hat on there at the edge. But this chorus of voices that included my children, they were calling me from my comfort where my toes were pressed neatly. They could no longer be neat with the invitation of my name being called out. And the sweeping wave swept over me, and I said, if not now, when? My friend and I had a conversation about both having moms who never like to get in the water at the beach or in the pool or wherever it was. And that's fine if that's your road, but you remember that as a kid. Is there adults in your life that are willing to get out there and be adventurous, to go out and get wet and maybe get your hair full of sand, right? Get the shells lapping up against you. And so, friends, I went. I removed my hat and my sunglasses, and I made my way bit by bit into that surf. And they were so gratified. You know, whenever kids feel like that they put the pressure on and then they see what it is that they have pressured you into and you did it, it's a dangerous precedent, friends. When they put the pressure on and you give in. And in this case, you could see their faces light up. You could see it, and from this vantage point in the water that was, I guarantee you, very cold, I could look around and see not only my children, but my best friend surrounded by her children. She's the one who I may have mentioned to you weeks ago had lost her father to cancer. And so acquainted with grief she has been in these last days and weeks. They have been tremendously hard caring for her 4 boys, in addition going back full-time to work, what it was to stand in this water with her. Not forgetting that heartache by any means, not forgetting the hardships of which all that got us to that moment, but to be overtaken in that moment, hearing your name, being called into that venture, and being overwhelmed by what ends up feeling a magnitude of blessings. Blessings that you may have observed from a distance if you were in your preference, but that it was a calling that invited into those spaces meant that you could be surrounded and immersed in it, like the water of the gills going into your life, being called into a homeward and holy space right there in the sea. It was exhilarating. The temperature and the togetherness, and yes, even that moment when I was caught completely unawares with my back to the ocean, and it pummeled me with this seismic wave that got me far wetter than I could have wanted. And the laughter that ensued, friends, everyone, because don't you love seeing someone overtaken by something like that? Now, I wasn't hurt. I was just stunned and shocked and surprised and cold and exhilarated into those spaces with my children. Could this be the kind of dancing, this rejoicing dancing that Paul might envision? We know he had been on the sea many times. Perhaps he knew what it was to get deep and be immersed in the spirit of water, inviting us into the miraculous and messy middle of things, whether it's our round when we're trying to sing Rejoice in the Lord Always and we're moving along with each other in this way that we think we might be a little off key and we think we might not have gotten the round just right, but it's in this miraculous middle messy of things in which wherever our hearts are burdened, suddenly they aren't quite so burdened. And we allow and we dare the Spirit to knock us into a wild gratitude again. We can look around this world and think, there's a lot. There's a lot to continue to burden me. There's a lot in my own journey. There's a lot as we see ongoing bombings and starvation. There are things that we could name that are certainly on our hearts at all times. And we keep remembering that even as we make each step into the audacity for joy that we hold. Because that's what every step that leads us back to this carriage house dares to muster up, is that somehow a message of hope would continually come our way, like a message in a bottle from Paul today, to come up on our shore and invite us not only to uncork it and to read it so beautifully as John and Mary have done for us, but to live it. To hold that bottle and to put our steps out and to say that not only would I write my rest of my life in the pattern of Paul to speak out to those in a spirit of love, but I put my body on the line. I choose to live out in all that I do and say in such a way that that love would be magnified. It seems like that can be what summer is good for, is knocking us seasonally into a new pattern and rhythm. And I know those of us who have kids at home feel this particularly, whether they get in camps that see them full day or only part of the day, right? Whether they look forward to going back to school or they don't look forward to going back to school, whether they're personally struggling with something and we have to help work them through it or not. But each of us finds a new rhythm in the season as the temperatures heat up, and we might go somewhere, or may long to go somewhere. We might collect little shells of remembrance. It's a reminder of that ongoing invitation that the Spirit has for us to be bowled over with gratitude. Another example from this summer, as we were driving back from Michigan, we had 2 hours of rain on the road in northern Ohio. Who's been on the northern Ohio Turnpike? It's just a lot of flat. You have those oases. They have those oases on the side. You can get off if you want. They all look the same. They got the Panera. They got the Sunoco. It starts to look the same, right? And you're going along, and then it's 2 hours of thunderous rain, and then occasionally there was that time where you see the cars stopping on the side of the road, and they're doing their blinkers, and you're like, should I stop on the side of the road and do my blinkers? Adam was driving. Thank you, Adam. And it was amazing, though, at the end of that, you might see where I'm going, at the end of that long torrential rain, you looked up into the sky, and there was a beautiful rainbow. This wasn't even one of those half ones. It's like you're driving right ahead. You see that Ohio plain, flat straightness. The rainbow like just curved over the entire road. And so we were engulfed in it, right? We were engulfed in that rainbow. Not only one, but two. A double rainbow came. Now I try to get a picture from the car, but you know that doesn't do it justice. You can get a video on the beach. Is that going to give you everything it is to feel in that moment when your toes are sinking deeper into that depth? Friends, these are the powerful moments that Brother David Steindl-Rast writes about in The Gratefulness, the Heart of Prayer. This is a book that's been pivotal and seminal in the life of this congregation over the years. Different people have studied gratefulness as the heart of prayer. He writes, a rainbow always comes as a surprise. Not that it can't be predicted. Surprising sometimes means unpredictable, but it often means more. Surprising in the full sense means somehow gratuitous. Even the predictable turns into surprise the moment we stop taking it for granted. We each have our own catalysts of things that remind us of this. Maybe it's a 2-week-old grandson, as Sandy has told us about, the precious moments you get to be by his side. Sometimes it's the smile of the neighbor. Sometimes it's the remembering that you have money to put gas in your car. Whatever these small things, they add up to the large reckoning that we are constantly receiving God's bountiful blessings. Brother Steindl-Rast continues, do we find it difficult to imagine that gratefulness could ever become our basic attitude toward life? In moments of surprise, we catch at least a glimpse of the joy to which gratefulness opens the door. I'm going to read that one more time. Do we find it difficult to imagine that gratefulness could ever become our basic attitude toward life? In moments of surprise, we catch at least a glimpse of the joy to which gratefulness opens the door. Friends, I want you to take just a moment now where you are, whether you're joining us there online or here in house, maybe being in touch with some aspect of your gratitude this morning. We'll have an opportunity to be receiving from the Spirit at tables. We'll be sharing in a time of communion. Maybe this is a time to acknowledge some courage that you took, some opening that is there, whether you've taken it or it is yet still opening. The opportunity to claim a spirit of gratitude for what God is doing right now in your life. Take just a moment with that.